Broadcast, KPTS 320 West 21st Street, Wichita, Kansas 67203.
Good morning. I'm Christy Zukovich. Welcome to the July 8th Sedgwick County Commission meeting. We are glad you're joining us today, and of course, we like to use this time to let you know a little bit about the things going on around Sedgwick County. And first off, to let you know that our Sedgwick County Zoo has started the Twilight Tuesdays, and that does mean that they will stay open on Tuesday evenings. And of course, if you are not a zoo member, you can get a voucher at a number of different locations, and you can find out where those are on the zoo website at scz.org, but they are open late on Tuesdays from 6 to 8:30. Opportunity to have maybe a little bit cooler time to enjoy the zoo and see the animals as it's later in the day. Also, commissioners, there is a new dome show at Exploration Place, and it's called The Last Reef, and they also have a photography exhibit about underwater photography. So if you want to see what it's like down under, way down deep in the water, but don't want to get wet, that's probably the best way. Go to the Dome Show and look at the photography at Exploration Place. We would remind you that the Sedgwick County Fair is beginning in Cheney, and hope that you will head out and support the folks who exhibit and enjoy the, of course, really good fair food and the rides and all the other things that you can enjoy at the fair, the entertainment. And commissioners, I would imagine some of you will be there for the parade and maybe taking part in a little bit of fair food. And Sedgwick County will have a booth there on Saturday where we will provide information. Some of our employees will be out there telling about our services. So hope folks will stop by and enjoy the Sedgwick County Fair. Today's agenda, we do have a donation for the Regional Forensic Science Center. We'll hear a little bit more about that. We have appointments to advisory boards. We're always happy when citizens that will step up and volunteer to serve on our boards and give of their time. And we will have a discussion of the Affordable Airfares Funding Program. And commissioners, I have no quiz. I have no trivia. I got nothing this week. I think it's because all of you have been on vacations, and I've been so envious of your vacations. I kind of took a little vacation, so I got to get my brain back into the spirit and start thinking of what I can do to help the folks and help our viewers learn more about our county commissioners. So stay tuned. I'll put my thinking cap on, but you get a little vacation today. And Commissioner Peter John, you get to be in the chair today. So I bet you can get the meeting underway, and I can bet we can get it done.
I think we can do that. Appreciate the introduction, Christy. And with that, I'm going to call to order the Sedgwick County Board of County Commissioners meeting of July 8, 2015. First item.
Invocation to be led by Pastor Ron Proct, Olivet Baptist Church. Please remain standing for the flag salute.
Your prayers, please. Father, this morning we come before you and ask on behalf of the citizens of Sedgwick County that you would bless these men who sit and stand before us with wisdom, with courage, with discernment, with hope for the future of our county. God, as Solomon became king and you gave him whatever he chose, he prayed for wisdom, and you blessed him with that. And so we ask that these men, in the decisions that they make, would have the wisdom that comes only from on high. I pray that they would make choices and decisions based upon what is best for those whom they serve. And remember that they are here as servants of the county, of the people, and that they would, in that capacity, serve the needs of those who elected them. Father, for all who work for our county, for the firefighters and the policemen, thank you for their service, for their protection, for all the first responders who are out there, for those who work on our roads and fix our bridges. We thank you for their service to us. We pray this morning for wisdom, for discernment, for understanding, and for your purpose and plan to be done through these men. And I ask these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Pratt. Next item.
Roll call. Commissioner Unruh?
Present.
Commissioner Norton?
Present.
Commissioner Howell?
Present.
Chairman Pro Tem Peterjohn?
Present.
Chairman Ranzau?
Next item.
Donations. Item A, accept a donation to recoat epoxy floor at Regional Forensic Science Center from Midwest Transplant Network.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Oberst, the district coroner at the Regional Forensic Science Center. I'm here today to present to you a donation in the amount of $8,036.25 from Midwest Transplant Network to recoat the epoxy floor at the Regional Forensic Science Center. Midwest Transplant Network is an organ procurement organization that works with donors and their families in Kansas and western Missouri. The Regional Forensic Science Center maintains partnerships with organ donation organizations, and a room at the Regional Forensic Science Center is leased on a per-case basis for procurement purposes. Midwest Transplant Network also has some storage in the body receiving area of the building. The flooring of body receiving is currently not suitable for the needs of Midwest Transplant Network or those of the Regional Forensic Science Center. Midwest Transplant Network has elected to donate the cost to apply a new epoxy surface to the floor in body receiving. More than 1 million tissue transplants occur annually in the United States, and approximately 48,000 corneas were transplanted in the United States in 2014. Tissue recovery can be accomplished in virtually all forensic cases without detriment to evidence collection, postmortem examination, or determination in cause and manner of death. I would like to thank Midwest Transplant Network for their donation and ask that you would accept the donation and authorize the chairman to sign a thank you letter. And I can answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Dr. Oberst? What's the will of the commission?
I move we accept the donation, authorize the chair to sign a thank you letter. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn?
Aye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Appreciate appreciate this donation very much, and look forward to providing either myself or Chairman Ranzau signing that letter at the appropriate time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item.
Citizen inquiries. Item B, request to address the Board of County Commissioners regarding living standards of people with severe and persistent mental illness.
Good morning. Welcome to the County Commission.
Good morning. Poverty among the mentally ill. Here's how poverty among the mentally ill works.
Before you get started, can we get your name and address for the record, please?
Sorry. Cynthia Gardner, 1133 South Pershing, Wichita, Kansas, 67218. Okay. Here's how poverty among the mentally ill works. You get around $600 a month SSI, which is Social Security income. You get an $8 increase for the entire year. Then they reduce your food stamps by $3 a month. They pull or reduce your Section 8 housing. They pull or reduce your LEAP, which is Low Income Energy Assistance Program. Meanwhile, the cost of everything goes up. You do not have a car because, you don't have a car because everything goes towards things such as food, water, electric, etc., which also has increased. Until now, you were getting your clothes at thrift stores, but now your case manager gets to take you to the clothes closet for free clothes every few months. Keep in mind that everyone is benefiting from the consumer. The case manager gets paid, the administration gets paid, and everything that goes up in price, such as rent, food, electric, means that those landlords, grocery stores, and utility companies get paid. Even the amount billed to the consumer's medical card goes up because we must make sure that everyone who provides services gets a raise. Yet the poor consumer is the one who does without. There is no money for extra things like education, having a car, or maybe even internet access at their house. Yes, there is a library. However, your case manager is probably not going to take you to the library while you surf the internet because they cannot bill for it. Plus, you only get an hour of computer time, and you might have to wait 2 hours before a computer even becomes available. That is how poverty among the mentally ill works. My husband will talk about billable hours at COMCARE and Breakthrough Club. When I worked for the Mental Health Association of South Central Kansas in 2001, we billed $110 an hour per client for psychosocial clients under the age of 18. The billing starts the minute that the client steps into the vehicle. A maximum of eight clients per 2 staff members results in up to $880 an hour. That is crazy. And yet many of the clients that they serve come from families who are living in poverty. When funding gets cut, then the administration and leadership needs their funding cut too. I am fortunate because I no longer have to go down this path. When I was homeless, I scraped by surviving the best I could, and I am a stronger person for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Gardner or comments? If not, I'll make a motion that we receive and file.
Second.
Seeing no discussion, please call the roll.
Commissioner Unruh,
Aye.
Commissioner Norton,
Aye.
Commissioner Howell,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Aye. Next item.
Item C, request to address the Board of County Commissioners regarding COMCARE billable hours.
Good morning. Welcome to the County Commission. And since I'm pro tem, I'm a little poor on introduction. So please state your name and address for the record. And you've got 5 minutes. I should have said that at the previous conferee, but I'm just getting up to speed here, and hope you'll bear with me.
Okay. Yes. My name is Francis Marion. I live at 1133 South Pershing, Wichita, Kansas, and I'm a citizen of Sedgwick County. I'm going to speak about billable hours in general. First, I never seen my psychiatrist for more than 6 minutes per appointment in the last few years that I went to COMCARE. My wife convinced me to switch to private practice for several reasons. If you are late or miss an appointment at COMCARE, you are told they cannot get you scheduled until 3 to 5 weeks. Meantime, you are down to 3 to 4 pills and told that if you have problems, go to the crisis center. Crisis case management is billed at a higher rate. If I'm having problems, then I need to see someone the next day at the latest, not 3 weeks later, so we can get my medication adjusted. Billing is done in 15-minute increments, which means that a 5 to 6 minute med check is billed for at least 15 minutes. Before I was insured through the Affordable Care Act, I paid to see a private prescribing authority rather than ever return to COMCARE. My medical records will never be turned over to them again because once COMCARE has their medical records, just about anyone at COMCARE can look at them. Doctors, therapists, case managers, billing, and they can release them to just about anyone else too. So much for the HIPAA Act. I do not like the fact that getting copies of my records nearly takes an attorney to get. Private practice does not do their clients or patients that way. Yes, we are clients or patients and not consumers. Now I am going to talk to you about billable hours in relation to Breakthrough Club. I was asked if I would like to attend a conference on mental health, and I said yes. Upon reaching the conference, which was in Topeka, I was not registered, but the staff member I rode was. My medical card was billed from the time that I stepped into the staff member's card all the way up to the conference, during the conference, and on the way back to Wichita. They were too cheap to register me. I decided to start attending the DBSA group, which is the Depressive and Bipolar Support Alliance group, which met during the evenings at Breakthrough Club. The group was told for weeks by Barb, the director of Breakthrough Club, that the DBSA group was going to be given a van to use to attend the NAMI conference. 2 weeks before, one of the staff members asked me if I was going to the conference. I said no, because I had schoolwork that I needed to get done. The next week, the group was told that they would not be getting a van. I was the only one in the DBSA group that was also a member of Breakthrough Club, and Breakthrough Club was planning on charging my medical card to pay for the trip. Breakthrough Club also offered meals over the noon hour, which the clients paid $1 for, while their medical cards was being billed for the time they were there also. Yes, at evening Breakthrough Club events, staff, volunteers took their clients home because there was no bus service. Check for yourself. I'm sure there was a medical card billed. Breakthrough Club staff was signing in and out members. A large petty cash fund allowed the top 5 members money to do things with, like eat out, while they give their a select few clients a few dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Merriam? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we receive and file.
I move we receive and file.
Second? I'll provide the second. Please, seeing no discussion, please call the roll.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn?
Aye. Next item?
Appointments. Item D, resolution appointing Reverend James Toth to the Sedgwick County Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Papoon, Acting County Counselor. We can probably handle items D and E at the same time if you prefer. To both appointments by Commissioner Howell to the newly renamed Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board. The 4-year appointments and the resolutions are in proper form, so I'd recommend that we appoint both the Reverend James Toth and Carol Pavetto to this board.
Without objection, I'll combine items D and E. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Reverend James Toth and Carol Pavetto to this board.
I'll second that. Seeing no discussion, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn?
Aye. Is either Reverend Toth or Ms. Pavetto present? Oh, please come over to the county clerk and get you sworn in.
Okay. Speaking to my good ear.
Okay. Good morning, Commissioners.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Kansas, and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Sedgwick County Intellectual Developmental Disability Advisory Board, so help me God.
So help me God, I will.
If you'd like to say anything.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for this. It is a privilege for me to serve. My wife and I were blessed with a handicapped daughter 32 years ago. It changed our lives, and anything that I can do to help others, especially parents, down the road, it is truly an honor for that. So thank you very much.
Thank you for being willing to serve.
Thank
and Commissioner Howell, I
Yes.
believe, has some comments.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to throw out there that I know Reverend Toth, and I've known him for a number of years, and I've met his daughter, and he lights up around her. He and his family, all of them, have been very sensitive and loving and caring towards her. In fact, he moved back to the Wichita area from Chicago just to be near his daughter as she receives the services and the things that she needs here in Sedgwick County. And so I know that this is a great sacrifice. He really wants to be up in Chicago with all the hockey and everything else going on up there. But
Go Hawks.
there you go. But anyway, he has sacrificed, and I've seen him truly love the people in this population, especially his daughter. And I think I couldn't have found someone better than Reverend Toth for this position. So thank you for serving. I really appreciate you doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is Ms. PAVETTO here?
I don't think she's here.
If not, we'll go on. Next item, please.
Item F, resolution appointing Debbie WILLSIE to the Sedgwick County Advisory Council on Aging.
Commissioners, Mike Papoon, Acting County Counselor. This is a resolution appointing Debbie WILLSIE, Commissioner UNRUH'S appointment to the Sedgwick County Advisory Council on Aging. The resolution's in proper form and ask that you approve the resolution.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we adopt the resolution.
I'll second. We've got a motion and a second. Seeing no discussion, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh.
Aye.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Aye. And Mr. County Clerk, will you please swear in Ms. WILLSIE?
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Kansas, and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Sedgwick County Advisory Council on Aging, so help me God.
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
If you'd like to say anything.
Hello, I just wanted to say thank you for being asked. I'm honored to serve. I'm the director of field practicum at Wichita State University, so we work with the social work students who are entering their professional last year, and I'm seeing more and more interest and dedication in young students to serving the aging population. So I think this will be a good opportunity for me to be able to carry back information to them and represent their interests to the community. So thank you very much.
Commissioner Unruh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, Debbie, I want to thank you for your willingness to serve. I know that you bring expertise to this advisory board that will be very valuable, and I know our Director of our Aging Services, Annette Graham's very pleased that I'm appointing you, so we'll look forward to your service. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
New business. Item G, Southwest Revenue Guarantee Agreement.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Chris Cronus, your Chief Financial Officer. In 2002, the City of Wichita initiated a program that has come to be known as the Affordable Airfares Program, and they did that at the time out of concern expressed by local businesses primarily that airfares in Wichita were extremely high as compared to other jurisdictions. And as you know, if you remember that time, many people were traveling from Wichita to remote airports to do their air travel because it simply was so much cheaper in those locations. For businesses, that was impractical, and in fact, a couple of businesses relocated out of Wichita to other communities and said at the time that one of the primary motivators for their relocation out of Wichita was the extremely high airfares in this community. And so in response to that, the City of Wichita initiated the Affordable Airfares Program, through which they agreed to provide a revenue guarantee to AirTran Airways to come to Wichita and provide low-fare service from Wichita to the city of Atlanta. The belief of Wichita at the time was that the nature of competition would cause all airfares from competitors of AirTran to decrease, and in fact that is what happened. The county of Sedgwick joined Wichita in that program in 2005, and then in 2006 Sedgwick County assumed responsibility for the contract with the airline. Sedgwick County has had annual contracts first with AirTran and then with its successor, Southwest Airlines, since 2006. The program has proven to be successful. It has accomplished the result that Wichita had hoped for when it started the program back in 2002. In fact, we have estimated that passengers using the Wichita airport are saving in excess of $100 million a year on fares, not just through Southwest, but through all airlines, which have reduced their fares in response to the competition of the low-fare carriers. In 2014 alone, we estimate that passengers using the Wichita airport saved $127 million as compared to what the fares had been before Wichita started the program. The agreement that's before you is identical in all material respects to the agreements that Sedgwick County has had with Southwest for the past 2 years and with AirTran before then. The agreement provides that Southwest will agree to provide direct flights from Wichita to Chicago, Dallas, and Las Vegas, multiple flights per day, and from those locations it will provide connections to its other destinations throughout the Americas. The Southwest entered the market in 2013, and we have learned from observation of fare and passenger counts since then that they have achieved the same kind of effect on our market as AirTran had achieved on the Atlanta market. Since Southwest began serving Wichita, we have seen the average cost of fares for trips to Chicago decrease 22% and passenger counts increase 88%. And we have seen the average passenger fares for Dallas decrease 54%, with passenger counts increasing 138%. All of that since Southwest, the low-fare competitor, entered this market. In contrast, when AirTran went out of business and left this market and we stopped having low-fare competition to Atlanta, we saw pretty much the opposite picture. In the year following the loss of low-fare competition to Atlanta, fares to that destination increased 61%, and fares to Denver, the other location that AirTran had been serving, increased by 87%. And so we think the combination of those factors is a pretty clear illustration of the effectiveness of low-fare competitors in this marketplace. Now the question is, will low-fare competitors stay in this marketplace without a revenue guarantee? In fact, the documentation that Southwest has provided to us suggests that they are operating at a loss from Wichita. And they said when they came to the market that they expected to operate at a loss, that they would be operating at a loss for the first several years as they built up their market share in Wichita. And so the agreement that's before you provides a revenue guarantee to Southwest of not more than $6.5 million for the 12-month period that began July the 1st, just last week, and culminates June 30th of next year. That $6.5 million revenue guarantee will be paid out in monthly payments depending on reports that we receive from Southwest showing the amount of of operating loss that they incur serving Wichita in the prior month. And so the amounts of money that we pay out will vary from month to month. In some months, in fact, we probably will not make payments to Southwest because in high traffic months they typically don't operate at a loss. But we do expect that they will consume the entire $6.5 million over the life of the contract. The agreement does obligate Sedgwick County to pay up to $6.5 million to Southwest. That $6.5 million is expected to be funded with $4.75 million that has been appropriated to Sedgwick County by the state of Kansas. It has been appropriated for the state's 2016 fiscal year, but we have not yet received that money. And the balance of the funding, $1.75 million, is expected to be provided in equal shares by Sedgwick County and by the city of Wichita. Sedgwick County's 2015 budget includes an appropriation of $875,000, the county's share of the local funding required for this contract. And the next item on your agenda is a funding agreement with the city of Wichita, which will obligate them to provide Sedgwick County with their share of funding, also $875,000. City Council, Wichita City Council, is scheduled to take up that contract at their next meeting next Tuesday. If you have any questions about this agreement, I would be happy to try and answer them. If you have no questions, then I would recommend that you approve the agreement and authorize the chairman to sign it.
Thank you. Questions for Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Cronus? Commissioner Unruh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chris, is there was some conversation during the legislative session that this may be the last year of this agreement with Southwest. Do you have any insight about that conversation? Or?
Well, the contract with Southwest and with AirTran before Southwest always has been an annual contract. It is for 1 year only, and we have no obligation beyond that year. When Southwest entered this market, they indicated, as I said earlier, that they expected to run at a loss for at least several years, and that they would require the revenue guarantee in order to stay in the market for that period of time. They said that they would hope to be profitable within 3 years. This is the third year. The contract that's before you would be the third year of service by Southwest. And so based on Southwest's statements when they first entered the market, we would expect not to have them requesting an agreement for the third year. The state legislature has indicated, and the governor has indicated, that they will not provide funding for a fourth year in the next legislative session. Sedgwick County is not expecting to appropriate local funding for another contract starting in July of 2016. So all indications are that this will be the last year of this transaction. Now, can I guarantee that Southwest will stay in the market if we fail to give them another revenue guarantee? No, I cannot. Southwest has made no assertions one way or the other.
Okay, thank you. That clearly answers my question. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we're talking about fiscal year 2015 budget has already been approved, $875,000 for this program. And today we're just basically approving the contract to administrate what was already budgeted. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What happens in...
Yes, essentially that's the case, but we're also entering into the much larger contract with Southwest. We will be obligated under that contract to pay Southwest up to $6.5 million, whether or not we receive the state funding and the expected city funding. As I said, each of those agencies has the money budgeted. The state has appropriated it. The city is considering the agreement next week. If for whatever reason we should not receive the funding, we still would have the contractual obligation with Southwest. The contract provides that we can terminate the contract with 75 days notice. And so in the event that we failed to get the money, I anticipate that we would choose that option rather than have the county absorb the full cost of the contract.
That's good information. That was my next question. So you answered that very appropriately. Thank you. What would happen for county budget fiscal 16 if we don't appropriate money for this program? We would still have to, because of this agreement, we would still have to pay the $6.5 million.
For the first half of calendar 2016, we will still have 6 months remaining on this contract. That the contract will have been fully funded in 2015, and so that money will roll over. The contractual obligation will roll over to the extent that a portion of the $6.5 million has not been consumed by December 31st of 2015. We will have an ongoing obligation to pay out money to Southwest through the end of this contract.
With your knowledge of this program, has the program ever not fully paid out the full amount to the airline? They always received the full amount every year this has been done?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a I assume if we approve this today, we really kind of need to plan on putting probably half this money for this obligation into the fiscal 2016 budget for Sedgwick County.
No. The money that Sedgwick County has appropriated in 2015, the $875,000, fully funds the county's share of the funding obligation for this contract. There will not be a need for additional county appropriations beyond that.
Okay, I understand that now. Now, you mentioned a minute ago about the losses of Southwest, and sometimes it's variable. It goes up and down, and sometimes we don't pay anything. Sometimes we pay a little bit more. Do we have any report to the commissioners to see what those losses are?
I can send you the information. Yes.
Okay. That would be very good, because some of the comments made at last year's meeting relate to the fact there was not evidence of any losses that they incurred or any revenue that they might have made during their time here. And so I was curious to know whether or not we actually had any evidence to back up the idea that they actually did have losses. Do we have any indication from Southwest what they would do with respect to the Wichita market if this is not approved? Do we have any idea what their plans would be?
No.
Do we have any evidence of Southwest pulling out of other markets?
Yes.
Okay. Are there other communities that have programs similar to Fair Affairs?
I believe there are now. There were not when Wichita initiated the program. This was, to the best of my knowledge, the first of its kind in the country. Because of its success, I understand that a number of smaller airports, regional airports, have initiated similar programs. But I don't have any specifics about that. I don't know which ones or with which airlines. I am aware that in some cases where the community has opted to have a program and then terminated the program, and the airline was continuing to lose money, the airline pulled out of those markets.
Back to the issue of losses, and so it would seem if their market is stabilizing and they're becoming more accepted by the community, and there's a lot more dependence on Southwest Airlines, their losses over the 3 years have presumably gone down. Do we have any evidence that their losses are the losses are going down and beginning to move towards profit?
I don't believe I would say that I have that kind of information. We receive reports from them to the extent that they need to draw on the $6.5 million. They always have consumed the entire $6.5 million before the end of the contract period. And so for the months after that, presumably they're continuing to operate at a loss that is not being supported by our revenue guarantee, but we have no information about that.
I guess just for my colleagues, I make the point that I think the state has been clear that they're only intending to fund this 1 year. They are on a 2-year budget right now, and they only debated in the State House funding for the first year, and I don't believe there's any intention to bring this up next year. I believe they're intending to dissolve the program, and that's the plan from the state of Kansas. And so this is a program that's, I guess, dwindling and towards the end of its life, and if it hasn't met its outcomes at this point. This is not a subsidy that's going to go on for in perpetuity. It's intended to accomplish a mission and then end. And so, at some point, this does need to end. And so, I just wanted to get some information on some of those questions. I'll continue to think about this for a few more minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Further questions for Mr. Cronus? Commissioner Norton.
I don't know that I have questions. I'm going to be supportive today. I've been supportive over the years. I think that, the idea that we've got the new Eisenhower Airport, that it has taken air travel to a new level in the Wichita regional area, it is important that we don't back off of having Southwest in our airport. I have to tell you, over the years, I've been a county commissioner. One of the issues that people continue to whisper to me about is, why can't you get Southwest Airlines here? When we had AirTran and the precursor to that, people knew that Southwest was an affordable airline. They liked their service. They flew to a lot of the places, even though maybe the secondary airport in large metro areas, but they flew where people wanted to go, and that the fares were very, very reasonable. So I had heard considerable amount of conversation from just the public, maybe not even business flyers, but recreational flyers, folks that average citizens that had to go other places, that Southwest would be a real jewel if we can land them. So we have. Now, how long we need to give Southwest to make sure they can uphold their business plan and stay stable and be in our community for many years, I don't know. I think that's part of the ongoing conversation and partnership agreement we need to have with Southwest and among ourselves on what's important with air travel. If you talk about the cost-benefit ratio, when you throw out numbers like $127 million worth of saved airfares to the public, and I assume that's business travelers and recreational travelers, that's a lot of money in our community that can go for other things, and that the investment from the state, the city, the county is minimal compared to that loss. And I go back to my business travel days. When I was with Target, we'd have to go to Denver occasionally, and we consistently rented a van here in Wichita. I picked up several store managers along the way, and we flew out of Kansas City all together because it was so cost efficient. At that time, I think the flight to Denver out of Wichita was over $1,000, and out of Kansas City it was like $300. And those days, because of affordable airfares, have gone away. I've actually had conversations sitting in our airport here with people from Tulsa and Oklahoma City that have reversed and come here because the fares were lower. In fact, I just flew back from a vacation with two ladies from Ponca City, and they could have gone to Oklahoma City, but they selected Wichita because the fares were considerably cheaper flying out of Wichita. So I think we have to understand the cost-benefit ratio for our community, what it does for the airfares and the traveling public. And then finally, when you talk about it as a state issue, the Eisenhower Airport is the state's airport. It's the largest airport in the state, serves about 70% of the population as in the catchment area. And if you think about it, yes, there's KCI. It's firmly in Missouri, so that the Eisenhower Airport is our state airport. So I would hope that even though the state is looking to end the agreement, that there'll continue to be conversations that an economic driver for the Wichita catchment area is the airport. And the state has some obligation, because it is the largest airport and it serves a huge population of the state, to be sure that they don't just end the conversation because they don't want to spend the money. Because we deserve, in our regional area, in this part of the state, to take part of the transportation dollars that come out of the state coffers, because we pay money into it. And I would hope that they wouldn't back out before we know what the end game is for affordable airfare. So I'm going to be supportive today. I always have been. I think the cost-benefit ratio clearly shows that this is good for the flying public and that our investment makes a difference, a huge difference. So that's all I have, Mr. Chair Pro Tem.
Thank you, Commissioner Norton. Other comments and statements? Commissioner Howell.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you know whether the state's funding to this is some of their EDIF money, Economic Development Initiative Fund, money from the casino revenue from the state of Kansas? Where does this money originate from, do you know?
It's a direct appropriation, and to the best of my knowledge, it's state general fund money.
SGF, State General Fund. And our money to this would be, our property tax revenue would be?
It's general fund revenue, yes.
Okay, all right. You mentioned a minute ago that you do have the analysis that you have, the loss statements from Southwest that you could present if I wanted those. Can you tell me who did the analysis? You mentioned a bunch of numbers, some benefits to the community, $127 million in 2014. Do you have that analysis?
Yes, and it's in the attachments to your agenda summary. The state requires us to submit an annual report showing the results of the program, and our report to the state was dated June the 11th. That report was prepared primarily by the staff of the Wichita Airport Authority, which has access to the detailed reports that come primarily from the federal government.
Do you know whether or not we've entered into any communications with the other airlines, American West, American Airlines, Continental Airlines, Delta, Northwest, United, or Allegiant Air, regarding to their support or their support of our policy, I guess, to support Southwest independently of all the other airlines? Have they weighed in at all and given any commentary whatsoever to tell us whether or not they are?
I'm not aware that they have. I know that at one time in the fairly distant past, I'm thinking 2 or 3 years after Wichita initiated the program and before Sedgwick County was participating, Delta Airlines had expressed concern about the fact that the revenue guarantee was being provided to one of their competitors. I'm not aware of any complaints or concerns expressed by airlines since then.
Can you break down this subsidy in terms of dollars per ticket or per flight or per passenger, in terms of how much this is benefiting each of the flyers, reducing the cost of the tickets and that type of thing? Do we have any analysis on?
We've not done that kind of analysis, no.
Are you? It'd be nice to have that number, because I know that there's a fee now that's being charged at the Eisenhower Airport regarding the new airport, the fees that they're charging because of the new building, new facility there. I believe that's like roughly $8 per ticket, if I remember correctly. I've talked to some people who've flown out of there, and I believe that's the number they gave me, but I don't know. Do you know what the fee is that they're charging?
No,
ticket holders? Okay, it'd be nice to know that as well. Is there any requirement that we pass this today, or is there some opportunity for me to go back and do some study? What if we were to push this off for a week? Would that be something that would cause a problem?
I don't believe it would.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chairman, I guess I would like to make a motion. We would delay these two items for the next week so that I have time to get more information and do further analysis. I'm not ready to vote in favor of this right now, and if you guys want to go on, that's fine. But I think right now I'm not going to be supportive. In the fact I don't have the data and the understanding to know that this is the best policy right now. So I guess I would make a motion. We would delay this for 1 week and see what happens.
Is there a second? The motion? Well, let me jump in and put in abeyance a second at this point as the Chair Pro Tem for this meeting. And I've had a number of questions about this program in the past. The last kind of semi-arm's length analysis I've seen of this program, I think Legislative Post-Audit did a report on the Fair Fares program. I'm thinking it was about 3 years ago. And at that time, they've ran through a number of questions concerning the performance, and I think went into some of the detail that Commissioner Howell was asking for. My concern about your motion, Commissioner Howell, is I think with the information you're really looking for would be an update of that post-audit report. You'd need a lot more than 1 week to do that. And to get the information I think you're looking for would take longer than a week, and we may, I think, easily have a week to do that. But you know, my personal feeling and reservations on this program, I think it's a program that was originally started to try and bring a discount airline into this market, and that was over a decade ago. The original goal had been to bring Southwest here, but they couldn't do that at that time. We ended up with AirTran, and also Frontier Airlines going west. And the program changed over years and kind of evolved. It originally was a city-only program, then it became city and county. Then the state got involved. So there's a lot of history that goes with this program, and we're talking about an industry that's been going through a lot of change, a lot of dynamics. I used to travel quite a bit. I've flown in and out of both the new and the old airport. I've traveled Southwest. I've traveled, I think, just about every other carrier here, although I haven't flown Continental recently because they're part of United now. But I have not only I've flown in and out of the new airport since it opened just earlier this year, last month. Having said that, I've had some reservations in terms of, you know, where we really stand on this program, and so I'm going to throw out a question or two to Mr. Cronus, if I could, relating to kind of the cash flow situation, since we've got three parties, the city, the state, and the county involved. The county administers the program. Do we get ever in a situation, Mr. Cronus, where the county is having to put out money because the payments from either the city or the state are behind the draws that are made by Southwest?
A year ago, get my years right, the payment that we were expecting from the state for the state's 2014 fiscal year that we were expecting to be received in the last half of the 2013 calendar year, the state didn't provide to us until 3 or 4 months after it had been expected. That's the only time that I can think of when we were making payments to Southwest in advance of receipt of money.
Okay, so but the state has not made the payment that would fund the portion of this agreement that would cover the time period from July 1 this year to June 30th?
No, and we've not requested it yet.
Haven't requested it?
Yeah, until you take action, affirmative action on this contract, we have no reason to request the money from them.
Okay.
The process is that we make the request, tell them that the contract has been executed and that the local funding has been made available, and then they send us the entire, well, they send us 90% of the annual installment, and they withhold 10% until towards the end of their fiscal year.
You said there are some months where that they're doing better than others, and that they don't draw against that account. Is there certain months that's a regular trend?
No.
Okay. I'm going to recognize Commissioner Unruh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My comments are that I would encourage us to go ahead and deal with this today and make a decision that approves the agreement. This is not brand new territory for us. This is not a new program. It's been around for in some form or another since 2002, as Mr. Cronus said. The state legislature has been our partner in it now for the last several years, and it has been scrutinized from about every angle possible, from post audits from the state and from our own internal audits, and from the KU School of Business even did an audit that was commissioned by the Regional Economic Area Partnership a couple of years ago to make sure that everything's being done appropriately and in order. So we have the data on number of flights and the number of passengers and that sort of thing that I believe validates the value of this program. But I think in light of the fact that the state legislature has approved funding and has for the last several years, the city of Wichita has approved funding. We've been a partner in this. It's supported by the Wichita Chamber of Commerce. We know of some of the benefits it's brought to us, and we also know that before we had this program that we lost some major business partners in the community who pointed to the fact that high airfares was one of the reasons they had to leave the community. So all that put together, I don't think we have to be concerned or have questions about whether or not the money's being paid appropriately. There may be some timing issues as far as that goes, and I think the whole issue is that you have to decide if you want to continue the program or not. But all the data has been out there now for 12 years or so. So I'm personally ready to move forward and approve the action. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Cronus?
Mr. Chair, if I could make just a bit of a clarification. Commissioner Unruh referred to a report that had been commissioned from University of Kansas by REAP. In fact, REAP commissioned a report from the Center for Economic Development and Business Research at Wichita State University. They commissioned that, as I recall, in 2009. The legislative post-audit was completed about a year later. The REAP analysis, the seed bar analysis for REAP concluded that the program was providing a very positive return on investment or benefit to cost ratio for our community. That's what they had been asked to examine. The legislative post-audit concluded that using different databases concluded also that the program was providing a very positive return on investment, although less positive than the WSU analysis had indicated. Since then, and this may be what you were thinking of, Commissioner Unruh, since then the legislature has commissioned a report from the University of Kansas, actually from Art Hall, who is associated with the University of Kansas, and he delivered one report, I believe it was 2 years ago, that I have seen, and my recollection is that he was trying to answer different questions, not cost benefit, but he concluded that the program was beneficial. My understanding is that he has been commissioned to do an additional report or a follow-up report for the most recent year, but I'm unaware if he's completed that. I certainly haven't seen the results if he has. But so there have been reports done from Art Hall at the University of Kansas for the legislature. There have been reports done locally for REAP, and all of those, and there had been the legislative post-audit report, and all of those reports in one way or another have come to the conclusion that the report is beneficial, that the program is beneficial.
Well, I appreciate getting that timeline and the data or the timeline of when those reports occurred, because I haven't seen anything that would cover 2014 or more recently, and I'd be very sympathetic to Commissioner Howell's idea of postponing to try and get material pulled together, except I don't think it could be done that quickly and come up with the information that I think everybody would like to have in a perfect world. I would say that there's a dynamic to this, and the challenge I've had with this program is that how do we know that this is the right amount of money? The county's contribution has fluctuated a little bit. I think at one time, I think initially when I became a commissioner, it was $1 million a year. It's currently $875,000. But the overall commitment for taxpayers altogether has grown from what it was when just the city was involved to when the state was involved. I think at one point, and maybe for a couple of years, it was over $5 million, or at least at or a little higher than what it is, what we're looking at today. So I think this is a program that continues to need studies, and I'm comfortable in terms of, completing the agreement. And my understanding was, and I'm going to maybe direct this a little bit to Commissioner Unruh, because I think he was directly involved when he was chairman. I think that the agreement that we had in place with the Southwest was for 3 years, if that's the case, this would be the third year, and it involved the state and the city and county all participating. And with the state no longer there, I think that this is a program we can determine. We don't know what would happen if this program did not exist. Southwest might continue. They might change which markets they serve. Under the current agreement that we have in place, they can still change the markets that they are servicing. They aren't locked into Las Vegas, Dallas, and Chicago. They could move that around with notification. But I'm looking at this in a situation where we've been trying to work together, and for 3 governmental bodies with different fiscal years and different modes of operation and different boards, it's been a bit of a challenge, but I think it gives credit to the city, the state, and I think also Sedgwick County that we've been able to work this through and have this work for this period of time. Commissioner Norton.
Unless there's other discussion, I move we approve the agreement and authorize the chair to sign.
I will second. And Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, did the motion for deferral have a second?
I motioned for deferral for a week. I don't think had a second.
Okay, thank you. Then I will second the current motion.
Commissioner Howell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple more questions. Do we have? I just need to be reminded. I'm sure there's data out there, but just please remind me what did AirTrans state as the reasons for leaving our market?
They were acquired by Southwest.
They were okay,
and subsequently have gone
I cannot
out of
remember the
business.
detail of that. Okay, all right. And then do we know whether the state's support for this program is contingent on county support for this program?
Yes,
it is contingent. Okay.
Well, the state has made a direct appropriation to Sedgwick County in the budget. The Department of Commerce over the years has required the county to provide proof of local funding equal to a certain percentage of the state funding. Whether that requirement is in the state law or not, I don't know. But as a practical matter, yes, we are required to provide local funding in order to get the state money.
Do we know when Art Hall's study, his analysis will be available? The current effort to reanalyze this, is it pending? We don't know.
I don't know. And as I said, I understand that he was commissioned to do an additional report for the legislative session that has already concluded. But when I talked to a contact at the Department of Commerce within the past month, the report had not yet been completed.
Well, I understand we're just about to vote on this, so I just want to make a couple of more comments, and I'll be ready to vote. First comment is I want everyone to know I have supported this from the state level in the past. As a state legislator for the last 4 years, I've had budgets that I voted on that included the funding for fair fares. And during the deliberations and process of getting those budgets together, I've had to make comments over the 4 years whether I would support fair fares or not. And I have supported fair fares in the past based on the analysis that was delivered to me at the time. I think the analysis we have right now is very old and outdated. We don't know right now whether or not this is still working and whether this is necessary. Southwest is a very successful company. They've been here long enough that if they're not turning a profit at this point, I don't know that it's going to change next year. I don't perceive the state's going to fund this next year, and I believe the program is dwindling. And so I guess we're going to find out soon enough when the program ends what the results of that is, whether or not we have a return back to 2001 airfares or whether or not things are stabilized in this market. I think that's the reality of what's going to happen in the future, regardless of this vote. Our vote has no control on what the state does at this point, and I believe the state's been pretty clear in their intent to end the program. So We're going to find out one way or the other. It would be nice to wean these programs off, to see them reduced over time, so there's not a cliff change in our policies and the things we do in Sedgwick County. I think these cliff changes are very hard on people to absorb, and it creates a reaction that's not good. But I guess the one final comment I was going to make. Oh yeah, and that is, we're just about to get into a budget cycle for 2016, and I guess $875,000 may not seem like a lot of money to some governments and some decisions in the past, but I think right now, looking at the budget, as far as I have looked at it so far this year, I think $875,000 is a huge amount of money. It's a game changer for this county. We're trying to support a lot of the things that are valued in this community, things like museums and Exploration Place, the zoo, and many other things we value in this community that are choices we make to make this a great place to live and to work. And we see value in those things. Unfortunately, $875,000 is a big enough amount of money that it can really make an impact on other things that we do here. I guess I see right now that that's a big enough amount of money that I am not comfortable supporting this at this time without the analysis that we need, I think, to know that this works and that there's a way that we can be assured this is actually making a difference. And so, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't plan on supporting the motion, but we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm going to make a few additional comments to clarify, because I've had concerns about the program and how effective it's been and the history of it. But we made an agreement. I think we need to stand by, complete it, both with the state and with the Southwest. And so I'm going to be supportive of the motion in front of us today. But I do so in a cautionary mode, and with the idea that, with the state no longer participating, I still think we do need to get the data. I would have supported Commissioner Howell's motion, but I don't think we can get that data in 1 week in a way that would be meaningful, or even 1 month. I think it's going to take a longer analysis. The concern I have with this program from the get-go is I don't know what the optimal amount is, and that's one of the dynamics of the marketplace. And the government, whether we're talking local or state or even national, the government struggle in terms of trying to respond and fit within the price discovery process that is a free and open market, where there's freedom of entry and freedom to get in and out of markets. And we can get into a fairly academic discussion in terms of how open and how much opportunity there is to enter or not enter certain markets. I know in the past I've seen airfares, I've gotten some great airfares here in Wichita. At other times, that hasn't been the case, and to what degree Fair Fares has been able to help, I think is arguable. The question is what is the optimal amount, and is it $875,000? Is it $1 million? Or from the county side, in terms of the total end of the program, is it $4 million, $5 million, or some other number? And that's not a number that I'm totally comfortable with, but I do think we need to fulfill our commitments and work this program through, and so I'm going to be supportive of this motion today. Is there any other comments? Seeing none, we have a motion before us. Please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh.
Aye.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
No.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item H, Transportation Services Agreement with the City of Wichita.
I think
Mr. Cronus, are you speaking on the next item? Item H?
Let's find out why these young people.
Oh.
Mr. Chairman, before these young people leave, I'd like Wayne Chambers to maybe introduce them and tell us why they were here. They were very attentive. They made good eye contact. They look like they've got the agenda in front of them, and I'm curious.
If you wouldn't mind coming up to the podium, please, so we can get you on the record here, if you don't mind.
I didn't want to be disruptive.
No, we don't want anybody to be disruptive, but
No. Good morning, Commissioners. I have a group of young entrepreneurs with me who are in their shadow program this week at High Touch. They happened to be with me yesterday. We went to City Council, and today they wanted an opportunity to come to the County Commission meeting. They have not been to either before now, and they found it pretty exciting. So I'll let them introduce themselves.
Please come on up
and tell us what school you're from.
What school and what grade you're in, please.
All right, I am Carly Phillips, and I'm going to be a senior at Augusta High School.
My name is Desmond McGill. I graduated from Heights High School.
Avion Love. I'm going to be a senior at Heights High School.
My name is Zach Vega. I'm going to be a junior at Southeast High School.
And my name is Marshall Johnson. I just graduated from Northwest High School.
Well, welcome to the Sedgwick County Commission. We're glad you all came, and if you've got other young folks who are interested in local government, you're always welcome here. We meet most Wednesday mornings at 9 o'clock, and our agendas are online, so if you want to kind of check out what we're going to be talking about, it does vary from week to week, but welcome and good luck in the future wherever you're going. And Commissioner Norton has some comments.
Well, in the Youth Entrepreneur Program, we look forward to your business startup and being able to flourish in our community. Don't go away and get education and leave us. Start your business right here. We need all the young entrepreneurs we can get. And if you're from Augusta, you can come over to Sedgwick County. It's okay. We're proud that you're thinking about your career and about business and how you make a difference in the economy and use your education to start a business or be part of a corporate business. So thanks for coming today, your interest, and thanks, Wayne, for having them shadow you at the County Commission.
Well, thank you, Commissioners, for this opportunity to have them sit and watch what happens in the real world, as you said, policy. So I didn't want to be disruptive, so I apologize for that. So thank you again.
We needed a little break after our previous discussion. So you all are welcome, and glad you could come by.
All right, thank you.
Come on
again.
back.
All right.
Speaking of coming on back, Mr. Cronus is recognized.
I apologize, Commissioners.
No apology needed.
I was fully prepared to take yes for an answer and forgot that I need two yeses. The item that's before you now is the agreement between the City of Wichita and Sedgwick County, through which the city agrees to provide Sedgwick County with its share of the local funding that we just discussed, $875,000. The agreement is, in all material respects, identical to the yearly agreements that we have had with the City of Wichita since the county assumed administrative responsibility for the program in 2006. As I believe it was Commissioner Peterjohn may have noted, the amount of local funding from each jurisdiction, city and county, has changed over the years, but it has been $875,000 for each jurisdiction for the past several years, and that's what this agreement is as well. City Council is scheduled to take up this agreement at their meeting next Tuesday, and I have no reason to expect that they will not approve it. If you have any further questions about it, I would be happy to try and answer them. Otherwise, I would recommend that you approve the agreement and authorize the chairman to sign.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Cronus? Seeing none, what is the will of the County Commission?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the agreement and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess my only question is, this is really just the administration of the Fair Affairs program, primarily the receiving money from the other two government units and making payments to Southwest. This is primarily just administration of the program. Is that correct?
It's even less than that. This pertains solely to the receipt of the city's share of that funding, the $875,000.
Okay. All right. Well, I do plan on supporting this one. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you, and I'm going to just state for the record, my reasons for supporting this are similar to the past one, but I viewed this as administrative in nature and strictly, less than the previous motion, so I will be supporting. We have a motion and a second before us, so please call, and seeing no further discussion, last chance, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh.
Aye.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next item.
Consent agenda.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ron Holt, Acting County Manager. You have a consent agenda items I through P. Would recommend your approval.
Okay, any questions or comments, and what's the will of the commission on the consent agenda items?
Move we adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second, seeing no discussion, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh.
Aye.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Aye. Next item.
Legislative issues.
Don't see anything in the way of legislative issues at this point. We'll then move to other. Any comments on other for this morning? I have a couple items on the other. We did mention that the Sedgwick County Fair does start today out in Cheney. There is a parade tonight, and I hope the weather will be accommodating. I believe it starts at 6:30 p.m., and they're planning a host of activities now through Saturday night, and it's going to be quite an event. If you haven't been to the county fair, I recommend it highly. Winners get to go on to the state fair later on this year. I'd also be remiss if I didn't point out that July 8th is an important day in American history. And on this date, in July 8th, 1776, the Liberty Bell was rung in Philadelphia. So it summoned Philadelphians to hear Colonel John Nixon provide the first public reading of the Declaration of Independence. And it's interesting in terms of the Liberty Bell, because it's been a symbol of our country. It's even been on our coinage at some points in time. And the original Liberty Bell proclaims from Leviticus 25:10, it says, quote, "Proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof." It's interesting that it's struggled. It's had been cracked a number of times, and of course it's there ceremonially. It was tapped June 6th, I believe the last time, in 1944, announcing the Allies' landing on the beaches of Normandy. July 8th, other important events have occurred on this date. Commodore Matthew Perry sailed into Tokyo Bay in 1853 and opened up Japan for trade. And July 8th, 1932, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed at its lowest level during the Great Depression at 41.22. So July 8th is an important day in American history, and I wanted to get that added onto the record. Is there anyone else with comments for other? Seeing none, executive session? Okay. Well, there is no fire agenda, according to what I've checked. So seeing no further business before this county commission, I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone.